Hi, this is a video reviewing operations with integers that you learned in elementary school. I'm starting by drawing these squiggly brackets here. They're called set brackets, and I'll start by reviewing what is the set of integers. So the set of integers is a set of numbers that include 0, and they also include the counting numbers or natural numbers, so 1, 2, 3, and they include the negative whole numbers, so -1, -2, -3, and so on. These are the integers, so I'm just going to write up here integers. We actually have a name for the set of integers. It's a capital letter Z with a double bar here. And so Z is the set of integers. And what did we learn about these before? Well, first thing is we can order them on a number line. So here's a number line. I'm going to put 0 on, and then I'll put 1, 2, 3, and so on the right of 0, and to the left of 0, we'll put the negative ones, the negative numbers, okay, and so on. So this is a number line, so you've learned this in elementary school. To move along the number line, if you want to move in a positive direction, or say when you're adding a positive value, you will move to the right. And when you want to move in the negative direction, so adding a negative value, you will move to the left. Another way to show a number line, and I sometimes prefer a different way, is to arrange the number line vertically instead of horizontally. So think of it like a thermometer. So everybody knows weather, everybody knows temperature. So imagine a thermometer, okay? So I'm going to draw it here like this, okay, with the temperatures all around it. And I'll put here 0 degrees. So here is 0 degrees. And with the thermometer, when it's warm, you'll have positive temperatures will be warm, so it'll be high, and the negative temperatures will be low. So I'll put the positive temperatures up here. Okay, and so you just imagine that it goes up from there, and then negative temperatures down below, and imagine it'll go lower too. Okay, so with the thermometer, we can use the thermometer like the number line. It's a little bit easier because we all speak temperature. Okay, so now what do we do? Let's say, for example, we wanted to add two integers together. So I'll start with two positive integers, 3 plus 5. Okay, so we all know 3 plus 5 is 8, but why is it 8? It's because when the temperature is 3 degrees and it goes up 5 degrees, it's actually getting warmer. So you will move up the thermometer, or in this case, you will start at 3 and move to the right of 3. So with the thermometer situation, you start at 3 and you move up 5 degrees and you end up at 8 degrees. Okay, so let's throw some negatives in there. So let's say I have -3 plus 5. -3 plus 5 means the temperature is currently -3. Sorry, I didn't put the negatives here, did I? Okay, there we go. Alright, so the temperature is currently -3. This plus 5 means it's going to go up 5 degrees. So if you're at -3 and the temperature goes up, it's getting warmer. So you will move up the thermometer. -3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, and end up at positive 2 degrees. Okay, let's do it again. Let me do 3 plus -5. Now, these two signs here, whenever we have two signs, we get worried because it's confusing. So I will put a bracket around the -5. Notice the bracket wasn't required over here because it's not two signs, so it's not confusing. Over here it is, so I will separate them by putting the -5 in brackets. This means my temperature is 3, and now I'm adding -5, which really means I'm going to get colder from 3. If I'm going to add negative, it means I'm going to get colder. I'm going to move down. So I'm at 3 and I'm going to move down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I'm going to end up at -2. I want you to notice something interesting. You've probably learned that two negatives make a positive, and a positive and a negative make a negative. Please be careful. That rule does not apply to adding and subtracting. That rule is only multiplying and dividing, because as you can see, we have here a positive and a negative. A positive plus a negative makes a negative, but here a negative plus a positive makes a positive. Why is that? Well, because that rule doesn't apply, because with adding and subtracting, it depends where you start and what you're doing to it. So over here, you're starting with a small negative number and adding a larger positive number, which puts you more into the positives. Okay, so you have, and here it's a small positive number, you're adding a larger negative number, which puts you more into the negatives. So that rule does not apply. Another way of adding integers, actually, you know what, let's do another one. Let's do -3 plus -5. What does that mean? -3 plus -5 means the temperature is -3, and it's going to get colder because we're going to add -5. So it's going to get colder. You're at -3 and you're moving down. So if you're going to move down 5 from -3, you'll end up at -8. So you see the negative and the negative made a negative because it depends where you start, what you do to it. Another way to look at fractions is, at integers, is to think of them as objects. So -3 plus 5, I'll do this one over here. -3 plus 5 is really 3 negative signs and 5 positive signs. Now every negative and every positive, if I take 1 and 1, they will cancel each other out. Think of it as this is subtracting 1 and that's adding 1 back. So that makes 0. So this negative will cancel with this positive, this negative with this positive, this negative with this positive, and it leaves us with 2 positives. And so that's why the answer is 2. All right, let's look at subtraction. Okay, so subtraction is actually not that difficult. So think of subtraction as adding the opposite. When you subtract, you're adding the opposite thing. So 3 minus 5 is really the same as 3 plus the opposite of 5. What's the opposite of 5? It's -5. So 3 minus 5 is the same as 3 plus -5. So same thing, you're at 3 degrees and you're going down 5 degrees, and that ends you up with -2. Look how I'm writing my steps one under the other. My equal signs are lined up, and every line is equal to the line above it. Let's do another subtraction. Maybe we'll throw in some more negatives here, make it very confusing. There we go, how's that? Okay, so this shouldn't be too bad, because remember the subtraction is just adding the opposite. So this is equal to -3. Now subtracting -5 is the same as adding the opposite of -5. Well, the opposite of -5 is 5. -3 plus 5 means you're starting at temperature -3 and you're going up 5 degrees and you end up at 2. Okay, and that's addition and subtraction. So be very careful with that 2 negatives make a positive rule, because it does not apply here. All right, so we're just looking now at multiplication and division. So multiplication and division is like this. If I told you I wanted you to do -3 times 5, okay, what does that mean? It means I'm going to have 5 groups of -3. So let's do the objects again. Here's 3 minus signs in a group, and I'll have 5 of the groups. What am I left with? I'm left with 15 objects, and they're all negative. So that is -15. Okay, what if I multiplied -3 times -5? Okay, so what do I get? I'm still going to have my groups of -3, and I'm still going to have 5 of those groups. But the fact that it's multiplied by -5 means they're all going to be the opposite of whatever they are. So if they're currently negatives, then this -5 means I'm going to have 5 groups, but 5 groups of the opposite thing. So each one of them will turn into a positive. Each one of them will become the opposite. All right, and so now what you end up with is 15, but they're 15 pluses, so it's +15. All right, same thing the other way. I can do +3 times -5. Okay, +3 times -5 is going to be a whole bunch of positives. So there's going to be it's going to be groups of 3 positives. And there's going to be 5 groups of 3 positives, but it's -5, which means after I make my 5 groups, I'm actually going to make them all the opposite. So turn them back into negatives, making them the opposite. So what am I left with in the end? I have 15 objects, but they're all negative. And that's your rule, that negative times positive is negative, negative times negative is positive. So remember, only multiplication, and also for division. So the rule applies. So 15 divided by 3, two positives, the answer is positive. 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. Negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. Notice how I'm putting the bracket around the negative 3 here because you have two symbols side by side again. When you have two symbols side by side again, it becomes confusing. And we want to make sure we know that's a division and not a subtraction. So we're dividing by negative 3. So I put the bracket there. I didn't have to put it here. I can if I want to. That's okay, but it's not required. Okay, and then finally negative 15 divided by negative 3. Notice, no bracket here because it's not confusing. Bracket here because the two symbols make it confusing. All right, negative 15 divided by negative 3 will become a positive 5. All right, so now you got adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Let's put it all together. And if I give you an expression to simplify, we will use BEDMAS to tell us the order in which we should do the operations, order of operations. And BEDMAS stands for, first we're going to take care of anything in brackets, then we're going to handle exponents. So exponents are what make powers. We'll be using exponents a lot in grade 9. Then we're going to do division and multiplication. And then we'll do the addition and subtraction. I'll do one quick example and then we'll be done. So for example, if I ask you to evaluate or simplify the following mathematical expression, so let's go 2 plus 3 times negative 5. Okay, so I'm not putting the times symbol. I'm just going to go up a little bit here and show you. This time symbol is not used very widely in high school. The reason is we do so much algebra that we don't want to confuse this times with an x. So instead of using times, what we do is we use a bracket. When you see nothing between the two things, it's a multiplication. Alright, so remember, if you took the brackets out, it would be subtraction. But because of the brackets, it's a multiplication. So let me continue. Minus, and I'll put a bracket, and I'll go 4 squared. So squared means times itself, plus 1. Let's simplify this. So I'm going to put my equal sign here. My next line is going to equal this line, but it will be slightly simplified. The first thing I should take care of, according to BEDMAS, is the brackets. This is not really brackets, this is just a single number, but this over here is brackets with work to do inside. So I'm going to handle that first. So I'll just leave these ones. Yes, you can probably do this multiplication at this point too, but I'm going to stick to the BEDMAS order to just show what should be done first. I'm going to handle the brackets now, but within the brackets I have 4 squared, and that means 4 times 4. So I can do that now. 16 plus 1. Okay, and so this is going to be 2 plus 3 times negative 5 minus, we're going to work inside the bracket, 16 plus 1 is 17. This is equal to 2. Now here I can do 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. I could do plus negative 15. I could do that, but a shortcut is I could write it as a subtraction. Because remember, subtracting 15 is the same as adding negative 15. So I can write it as minus 15. And then I have minus 17. I'm at the point now where it's just addition and subtraction. So I have a positive 2 and then minus 15, minus 17. These can just be done left to right because they're all sort of, think of it as at the same level in terms of order. So 2 minus 15 is temperature's 2, goes down 15 degrees, so that's negative 13. It goes down again another 17 degrees, and so we end up with negative 30. Okay, and that's it. So that's everything you need to know about integers, so please go ahead and do the practice, and good luck. Thanks for watching.